Okay, so yeah, finally we starting. Okay, so today's just going to discuss about the exam patterns and stuff. So it's a 2 hours open book style exams on Milo. So Milo quiz. And so the exam has like 4 sections. So it's kind of similar to what we did last year, except that I decreased one section D question and increased the marks on the section B. So like the section A is going to be like the objective type stuff. So it could be a mix of fill in the blanks, select multiple selection and choice and all those things. Anything, it could be a mix of anything. And each one of them will have 1 marks, and in section B you have got like the 8 questions. They are the short answer types, so similar to what we had in section B. Last year's question paper is just the marks is more, so you just have to write a little bit more, maybe 1 or 2 sentences more. There's short answers. You can draw diagrams if you want to. Section C has 4 questions. These are programming style stuff. So you are so and there are each 8 marks, and it's a programming thing, and each of them you could have subparts and all, very similar to what you had in the last question paper. Section D is 2 questions or 15 marks, and they are very long, ultra long ones. So feel free to add any diagrams or anything for the section D. So which lectures to focus? So it's I guess for this unit, it's every lecture is important because everything is very theoretical, like boring, but anyway, theoretical. So you don't need, I mean, for the section C, the programming part of it, you could it's going to be based more on the tutorials, but other than that, the other parts are more just theoretical stuff that you have to just write about different aspects and systems and all those things. Yep. And the thing is, like, obviously do not copy paste, or like I mean, don't copy paste from the slides either, because otherwise it could be just as like plagiarism and all those things. Just copy it, even if you want to like write something, just make it your personal. So like do some editing. Don't just like copy and paste it as it from the slides as is. That doesn't really help anybody. So just
Plagiarism on an exam seems to be quite a rare thing until now.
sorry, what? Uh, yeah. The thing is, like, before you, if you were in the real exam, like in the exam hall, you wouldn't get to copy paste at all. Like this, so, but if you are doing it online, then we don't. I mean, as a teachers or anybody, we don't really know what's happening, what the students are doing. So it's kind of like we just have to tell you that you can do that. Okay. But as I said, I mean, obviously your answers will be based on whatever is in the slides, and you have, this is the open book exam, so you have access to the slides and everything. So you can just go to the slides and see what was written in there and all. So once you go in, you can, like, what I'm saying is, like, don't just copy that and paste it. I mean, most of the slides are just 1 or 2 sentences anyway, so you have to slightly elaborate or make them into more readable sentences as such anyway. So do that editing by yourself. So the next thing is the marking. So it's 120 mark stuff total, and it's 50% is going to be added to your like this exam accounts for 50% for your assessment total. So it's going to be divided by, I think, 2.54 or something like that. So yeah, make sure you attempt everything. And so for diagrams, so if you are adding diagrams, I will create an assignment, and you could, like, I have enabled the HTML and image upload facility in the Milo itself. So keep your PowerPoint open. If you want to draw something, you can quickly draw and put in there. one thing is like if you, because you are going to have to type stuff on the Milo exams, don't worry too much about typo errors. I'm okay with that. Just make sure that it's readable at least. Like don't make it like absolutely unreadable kind of typo error. But if there's a few like a thing like characters here and there, that's okay. That's not a big. Don't worry about it too much. But make sure you can. I mean, these days browsers they do our spelling checks anyway. Just make sure that you when you before you save it, just uh, like go through the spelling checks and just make it okay. And for diagrams specifically, you can add. I think you should be able to add diagrams to the Milo itself. Just in case you cannot, you can put everything in a doc file and you can upload it to that assignment just after the exam. So like that assignment will just be like about 5 minutes after we'll just close 5 minutes after the exam ends. So yeah, that's just to make sure that if just in case you cannot like upload it in your browser has some problem or anything like that, you have another way to upload the diagram specifically. One other thing is in case your internet goes down and you're not able to access Milo, so the best idea is that when you start it, so in the beginning you just copy like copy out all the questions and put it in a doc file if you are not confident about the internet things. And just in case you lose internet in the middle, you just essentially see if you can like you keep answering on your doc file, and then when you have finished the doc file, like when you get back to the internet, you just can copy it back to the system. This is obviously a problem with the Milo, like it's a Milo type exam is that you lose connection, it's a mess. But yeah, just be careful with that. I guess that's all for the technical stuff regarding the exam. So any other questions? Anybody? Or any ideas from last semester, anything like that? Last semester I had a unit, but I did a take-home exam, so it was like I just gave them a question paper and they came back with answers after like about 6 hours or something. Like it was like a kind of morning to evening kind of morning to afternoon kind of thing. So this semester both the units that I'm doing are online Milo stuff for a 2 hours exam kind of thing. So, yeah. Any suggestion or any queries or anything? Okay, so regarding general review, I haven't prepared any special slides specifically because it's open book, so you can always go back to your files and documents when you get the questions. I'm just going to go through the contents in general because I don't remember the question paper either. I sort of forgot what I had put in there. So let's just go through each of the slides.
Do we have a proper practice exam?
No, not really. I can, what I've thought is like I can put a separate assignment with 4 or 5 questions from last year maybe, and you can try out the Milo system. Yep. Otherwise, you can do the last year's
We had them for last semester, but I'm probably going to use all the previous exams anyway.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just in case you want to practice the Milo, I can put something in there.
So that'd be good. Do you know if we have last year's exams? Because, or at least maybe last semester's.
Yeah, yeah. That's, I mean, they're like the it's under the additional resources. I think. Like, yeah, it's under the additional resources.
All right.
This is just the second time we are doing this unit anyway, so we only have one question paper from last year. So, yeah. Okay, so let's have a look. Okay, so week 1. So before going to this one, so how is the assignment status? So is that done, not done? Anybody has, I mean, I received a lot of emails. Let me just quickly have a look. 37 only. Anyway, I guess we're waiting for some groups anyway. Okay, so let's just go back to the contents. Yeah. So lecture one. So we got into the characteristics of cloud, SO, service-oriented architecture, and all of these things. So mainly the thing is with this unit is it's okay, assignment stuff. Yeah, that's a good point, right? So next week, I think all of you have booked some time and all. I, I might have to cancel some of these meetings from Monday morning from 10 to 11 or something like that. There's some other meetings that they scheduled this week in the middle of suddenly. But other than that, I will have like the meetings will happen anyway. If I postpone something, I'll let you know and we can do it on Wednesday. So the idea is that it's 15 minutes time. So you just like log in and like you can I shared the Zoom link with everybody, so you can go on Zoom, you can share your screen, and you can like quickly show what you have implemented, what you have done. I don't really intend to ask much, but it's really for me to know you guys. That's my main purpose, to be honest. It's like I've been talking a lot during the semester, and like Butas has been doing all the tutorials anyway, so I really don't know much of your capabilities or who is doing what or what have you learned or any. I don't have much of a feedback from the students anyway. So my main motivation is to at least have a sort of understanding of where you are. So, but yeah, the thing is like we only have 15 minutes. Um, you don't need to run it. You can just show me, if like prepare some slides, maybe that's a better idea. Yep. I mean, because it's going to be difficult for showing and running on this board and things may not run. But yeah, if you can, I mean, if you want to, you can. That's not a problem. But yeah, I'm really looking for like whether the extra feature that was in the assignment 3 of assignment 2 that has been added or not, and the like the JMeter stuff is actually working or not. That's it. Like not working. I mean, you can show the data that well you have run it and this is the data for that. That's perfectly fine. Okay. Okay, so topic wise, so then we looked into the different architectures of uh, the clouds, like scaling mechanisms and all those things. Then different architecture of the cloud, like software as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, blah, blah, blah. All of these differences, deploy model, private, and different types of clouds. All of these are important. I'll just pick out anything if I remember it. That's not important. Next cloud is just the example. So yeah, obviously we are not going into the exams will not have anything regarding Nextcloud specifically. Okay, so the next part was about web applications, going to different protocols, and then we looked into the worldwide, what is the World Wide Web stuff, IP addresses. These are not exactly that important either. These are just mainly background stuff. So you have MVC. So with the MVC, it's like theoretically we have got the model and the view and the controller, and each of them controls some aspects of the implementation. So like the model is concerned with the data and all those things, and view is concerned with what we see, and AI controls has the business logic and all those things. So the main thing, so if, in terms of exam, like look through these things from a theoretical perspective. Like the questions are not really that tricky. It's more like if you like last year, I think we had a question that was like asking to compare between these 3 or 4 stuff. So you just go through this diagram and you figure out of which arrow is missing from where, and that's it. That's you have to write it in like a little bit details and all. So that's just an example of how what kind of questions can come up. And don't worry, the exams doesn't have any MVC programming stuff. It's more like any questions regarding MVC is more theoretical in nature. Then yeah, like so these slides are like the actual like how do you use MVC, and once again these slides are not exactly exam type stuff. This is more practical oriented, like what you can use. The part C could contain some stuff like this, like you've got a like a class or something like that, and then you could be asked to say like how does this code work? What's the output of the code? If there's an error in there or not, things like that. Normally the questions are like last year, that you essentially like the code is usually given and you just have to like either edit it or see so the output. There is only one question where you have to write the code on your own. Like the conditions are given, you have to write the stuff on your own. Okay, so the next part that we looked into is service-oriented architecture. Once again, these are all definition. The thing with this unit is pretty boring. Everything is like just a bunch of theory. Anyway, so then we looked into the SOAP services, how SOAP services are created, what is XML, and so yeah, so like for example, if you get a question regarding how SOAP works or anything like that, you can like write some stuff. You can write this in like the SOAP is simple object access protocol. It uses XML based messages for exchanging and all those things. It consists of this, and then you can like draw a diagram like this. If you draw a diagram like this, it kind of covers most of the topics. And then maybe add some more lines of like how it is constructed and all those things. Then we looked at the web service description language. Yeah, don't worry about this, that's too difficult. Not exactly exam type questions as such. Once again, same for RESTful web services. So if you asked what is RESTful web services, explain with the example or anything like that, you just draw this kind of diagrams, and you can explain things just using like draw a diagram and explain maybe 1 or 2, 3 steps, and that should be. These are definitely not the long answer type stuff. These are like the 6 marks questions. So processes, yep, you can do the comparison as well. Yeah, you could have questions regarding these terminologies, or like in the short answer kind of areas, like the first part, maybe fill in the blanks or something like that. And then there is the general conceptual stuff. Again, yeah, again, everything is like after this is quite conceptual stuff. You just draw and write regarding the security attack services, techniques, and all those things. this is another important part is that like the different levels of authentication. So you could expect something like a scenario, like a small thing where we can maybe ask that, okay, what kind of factor of authentication you could like use for this scenario, and how does that secure stuff, a bit of a theoretical and a little bit of practical ideas, just as an example for authentication you could work out. um, yeah, the digital signal, once again, theoretical. Don't worry about memorizing programs again. I mean, if you get a question, then you can always come back and refer to it anyway. Um, SSL, TLS, and all those things. Yep. So once again, with SSL, TSL, TLS, yeah, you can sort of focus on the diagram. If you get a question regarding SSL or how does SSL work over the HTTP to make it secure and all, you can then focus on this diagram or this diagram that, okay, this is how the HTTP becomes HTTPS and all the details in between. That's the same, like same stuff. So load balancing, yeah, this is one of the key part of this unit anyway, like the balancing web traffic loads and all. So once again, we look at the scalability, how it works, and what's good for web. We had a question last year regarding like this was a big question, is that where like the last part, I think 18 marks question, where you had to suggest that where which kind of load balancing and scaling will work in certain, or which kind of cloud would be more suitable for which kind of scenario and all. So yeah, part of that is like figuring out the load balancing and the scaling that is required for that. But other than that, it's kind of theoretical stuff. Yeah. Pay attention to this lecture definitely, because this is the one of the core aspects of the cloud computing stuff. And like last year, we are not really focusing on MySQL. There's just that theoretically, I mean, you don't have to write MySQL code. It's more conceptual writing, AJ proxy. So then there's the web attack stuff. So so you could have questions like, what are the security vulnerabilities or weaknesses, and what are the security attacks that can exploit those things? And once again, this is something we looked into pretty much every single slide after this one, the very basic security guidelines. Then there's the SQL injection attack example. So for the different kind of attacks as well, it's the same thing. You focus on the diagram and then write down some topics, like explain it in some sentences. Some goes with CSRF. There's going to be nothing from specifically from the this DVWS step as such, but you can think of the examples that you have already run in the tutorials, and they could be like the part C questions as such, that where you look into different like examples like this and figure out, well, this is wrong somewhere, or this will not work, or this will work, that kind of thing. Like whether it is actually a vulnerability or not, that sort of thing. Specifically this password exchange and all those things and all. Then how do you prevent it, prevention mechanism, token authentication, and all those things. Once again, these are quite theoretical stuff. Wait, one. Oh, okay, that was just 7 and 8. Okay, 7 to 9. So we have got, so once again, the security guidelines are memorized, so it's fine. So now we've got the DOS attacks. Again, don't worry about the data as such, they're just for more for information. This is important of what kind of DOS attacks can happen. And then maybe sort of go through each one of them as briefly as possible. Yeah, then what's firewall? So how do the firewalls protect against the like or how does yeah, so how does, like, what's the difference between the stateful and stateless firewall concepts and all? IDS, so intrusion detection is, I think there was a question last year, I can't remember. If it was like the describe the introduction intrusion detection systems, maybe it was in the supplemental. Anyway, so there was this is kind of important as well, because this one could be like a big theoretical like the 15 marks one stuff. And yeah, so yeah, then the concept of packet sniffing, how it works. Yep. So once again, there's a diagram, and you can have different methods of packet sniffing, where it is used or why it can be used for bad purposes or good purposes, whatever. Then we get the man in the middle, and then the DNS attacks again. So these are quite theoretical stuff once again. Okay. Yeah. Oh, why? So then we look. Wait, what? yeah, so then we look into the human factors and all those things like phishing examples, like how does people fall into phishing attacks and all. There was like a phishing tactics. Yeah, that's a different. That's a good learning stuff. Is that different? What kind of phishing can happen, and what are the exact weaknesses that phishing can exploit? Um, and then there's the keylogging, link checking, and all those things. This one is obviously very important because like this is also one of the key stuff of this unit anyway. So definitely go through this slides here. Yeah. Cloud security. Yeah, so this diagram is kind of important as well. Like we have got different levels of cloud services, like the software, platform, infrastructure, whatever, and each of them can or most likely will have the weaknesses against one of these kind of attacks. So remembering the architecture could help you. Like if you get a question, well, where can a cloud malware injection or the stepping stone or whatever can happen, and then you can literally quickly go back and explain that, well, this is the specific area where it can happen, and then with an example like that. So I think this was just about looking through the what kind of things can go wrong in the cloud itself, like like some platform similar to what you have Nectar, what can go wrong in the Nectar itself. And there was an IDS as a service for like the discussion in this lecture as well, related to the ideas that we discussed before. Yes, that's it. That's all the lectures as such. Any questions or anything? So has all the tutorials like have any of you have faced any problem with tutorials, or you know that anybody has any problems like during the tutorials? Anything did not run or something like that? All right, so I guess everybody's very bored. So yeah, so anybody has any questions or anything regarding the exams or the unit in general? I just noticed that I didn't put the videos for the last 10, 11, 12 thing to find out. Yeah, I'll definitely put those online. So these were some of the questions from last year. Okay, good question. Tutorials. I think the tutorials like are morely most of them in the beginning part of it. It's like it's more about the questions are like, I mean, like last time, like it's like a more of a PHP stuff is given, and then you find out whether this actually there's some fault or something like that in there. So yeah, look more into the first few examples of the MVC and all those things, but then maybe have a look at the DBW and all those things. Well, as I said, the DBW examples are more like, it's not, I mean, they are very specific examples to that application that you did in the tutorials. We cannot really ask you questions like, do this in DBW and what's the output, that kind of thing. That's difficult to ask, but look into the theoretical, like how did it work, or what was the weakness in the DBWA, and maybe you can get like the password attack kind of thing or something like that. As an example, you can have a look at it like that. Okay, this is how it worked. That's the theoretical stuff behind those few tutorials. Other than that, like yeah, not SOAP and REST is not that really. They're more for your like the assignment kind of thing. HA proxy is definitely, I mean, we're definitely not asking HA proxy configuration. You have done that very well in your assignments already. Similar for Apache, the JMeter and all that. Those are assignment specific stuff, not exactly, they're not concerned about that in the exam. Yeah, just with the DBWA, it's like so this is what you have done physically, but this is the same kind of questions can be asked in context of a PHP. Okay, so that's exactly what you need to just go back to the system and see if you get this as a PHP, then how do you explain that, what kind of attack it was, and how did you, like, how can you prevent it and all those things. That kind of, it could be like a, I mean, these are all like the 6 months question, not really the big ones. Oh yeah, right. There was no SOAP or REST in the assignments. Correct. These are for tutorial stuff. Forget it. Like it don't make things more complicated, I guess. Yeah. I mean, what I mean is that the functions like the SOAP client and SOAP server and all those things were not really of a concern in this one. Any questions that are related to SOAP and all is going to be more on how that SOAP is useful, or what's the difference between SOAP and REST, that kind of thing. It's not really SOAP programming and all. What was else there? So similarly to the SQL injection, to the XSS, CSRF, whatever was in the DBWA, think of it from the context of the like what kind of practical questions can be asked from that scenario. Okay, so yeah, there was last year. We didn't really do it because there's no time but to make life less complicated as possible. I may release it after the like next week. So if you want to do it, you can do it. but no, don't. This year we want to make things easier, not more, more complicated than it already is. 10 tutorials is sufficient for marking and all. Yeah, so what else? Did you have any other specific questions, concern, or anything that you want to raise today? Good to see new people in the lecture, by the way. That's we usually only have one or two people. That's a good question. TCP. What was the idea? Okay, let me have a look. Right, of course, you don't have a TCP service going on the cloud anywhere, so you don't really need a TCP request specifically. But you can. Was there? Okay. Oh yeah, right. There was. Never mind. Okay. It's a good point. Nobody asked me for a rubric. Forgot to make it BGB. Anyway, so TCP. You can like the TCP is like you can run the HTTP like a TCP. It just runs in a different way. So you literally have to specify some ports and all those things if you want to run a TCP. And you won't get like the difference between TCP and HTTP is that TCP, so HTTP, you know, like the request type, like post, get, and all of those things, and you can mention parameters, links, and all those things. You can do exactly the same thing with TCP, but it's just then you have to go into more in depth of like the using like you have to specify IP address, and then you have to specify port, and then you have to send packets and receive, but you won't be able to like call it as something like .php. You literally have to uh, just send some information and it'll get some information, that kind of thing. You won't be able to retrieve any meaningful information just using TCP requests as such. But because like the Apache and all, they are running HTTP, they should be responding to some TCP stuff if you send requests like that. So did anybody do the TCP part? You just left it like, or everybody? I can't remember what the team was told now. Yep. Yeah, that's okay. That's fine enough. Yeah. That's a good point. TCP, to do TCP properly, you need to have a server that is running some like a specific TCP socket, and it runs something that is not HTTP, but some other kind of TCP socket and all those things. But anyway, you know how to do a TCP test if you really want have to do at some point. Okay, so let's see. Anybody got the MySQL server load balancing stuff going on? Yeah, but all right. All right. So, any other questions from anybody, or any issues or concerns or anything that you want to raise? Or that's weird. I can't think of is, but your load balancer works by default, right? Like if you go to load balancer, it does show you the data, right? I'm just wondering maybe if there's any. Okay. The only other thing I could think of is the timeout problem. Like if the path is correct, then it's a matter of timeout. Yeah, that's another possibility that you don't have the session. So the page is no, but you see, so you were oh PHP file for logging and registration. Um, no, registration should work because that shouldn't require any session. Yeah, it depends upon how you have set things up here. Okay, so anything else before we sign out? Maybe? Yeah, I'm just realizing I haven't had the time to put on this unit too much this semester. Like, yeah. So how was the group work experience? Like, did you guys, how many times did you guys meet online? That's a very good thing that I've been worrying about. Seems like you guys have done it, but I'm just wondering, just for my future reference, if I want to go with group work at all. Yeah, that's something I thought. The problem is like when the unit started, nobody actually thought about the cloud computing resource of the DTP, which is the yeah, we don't really. The problem is that the discipline doesn't have a proper cloud computing infrastructure as such. We rely on Nectar, but you only get two servers. Like you can only spin up two VMs in one account that you get, which means that if you want to do HA proxy, you cannot do that because you can, like, you need more names, like more IPs. So that's why last year we thought about that. Okay, if two of them, you can team up and do it as such. But yeah, I mean, most of the work you can do all by yourself if you want to. There's no need for uh, double work. But anyway, next year hopefully we'll get some more resources. But I guess that doesn't really affect you guys. But yeah, next year hopefully we'll get more cloud computing platforms and resources to work on. Just out of curiosity, another thing, how many of you have heard about blockchains and stuff? Just a general question. Or know anything about blockchain? I'm just asking is because like if so heard about blockchains, like the so I'm just because that's kind of the follow up from the cloud computing as such. I was hoping to include that like at some discussions at somewhere. Okay, good. No, I mean, it had to do it. I mean, I'm just saying like that was more of a touch-up thing. So does it, is it something that you are maybe interested in, or do you think that's something that fits well? I know you guys are quite good in this 202 and the 214, so I'm just asking that what's your opinion about that kind of technology? Because I'm just asking this because from the university side, we're thinking of including like blockchain as some of the units, if possible or not. Okay. Um, right. So what's your area of interest in general? Like AI or something else? Okay. Okay. Very well. I mean, just I was looking at some stuff the regarding web stuff, and I don't know, if you heard about DB, you probably should have maybe put that in thing. Yeah, I mean that's not just the only one. There's like many different like with the web design stuff is like becoming very, I don't know, maybe you have come across this in 202 already, because this is more about the JavaScript and web design part of stuff, not exactly the security part of things, but like this is one, like this is not the only one. There's probably 4 or 5 other which are pretty good, and the web design part is becoming more like drawing. It's really like what you want to do, you just drew it, more like drag and drop design kind of thing. It's increasingly becoming like you can design anything at any point of time, right, as quickly, and that's kind of where web design is going as such. But if you look at that example on how the DB works, you'll get the idea that that creates a lot of problems regarding security, specifically the attacks that can occur at a web application level. So you design your, say, so if I go, I think I don't have to log in. I can just create something on my phone. If you log in, then you can create. I just start reading. So what's happening? Yep. So this is like a live editing tool. So you can go full service, well, anything like that, and then you save it, and this is going to be the web page that you see that's available for everybody. And you can literally now, and then you can literally add something like you have come across this in the Bootstrap in the 202. So essentially, you can just add something here, and then I'm just adding random stuff, and then you can customize and say the text should contain. Something like that. just for the fun. So the thing is, like, you can add stuff like this here, and this is like, you can see, like, it's very GUI based stuff. Like you can literally add anything anywhere very easily, and then that becomes part of the actual web page. So if you go to, I don't know how to share this, like create a generate link, but this is essentially like a live editable web page that you can get. One of the things that is like, this is very good in terms of usability, because like a lot of web developers don't really need to go into like typing HTML or CSS or anything at all. You can just move things around, and like it just works pretty much out of the box. The problem that this creates is that if you are able to put in CSS or anything like this anywhere on a web page, that means like, and especially if you are, say, clicking the plus button, you are trying to include, maybe if you are including libraries that are existing from this company, that's one thing. Yeah. Let's see the video. What's in the video? Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So this is the this is the like, so yeah, so if you go into the new, if you're downloading models from this specific vendor, that's yeah, anyway. Oh, yeah, that's okay. So if you go and like, if you are downloading components from this specific vendor, they may be okay, they may be signed or anything like that, so you can add digital signatures to these widgets or anything that you add. That's perfectly fine. But the moment you go and add library from somebody else's URL or something like that, you're asking for trouble. You essentially need like, you can solve these kind of problems using same public key infrastructure issues, like we issue certificates to every widget, and then the moment you download it, it's all of this is like a JavaScript library, so including more JS file and more JS file into your bigger web page. So you essentially now you need to like address those kind of issues. Like if you like how to ensure that the JavaScript that you are maybe adding from somewhere else is actually not putting in security issues within your web page here. Especially this kind of problem. I mean, this is a futuristic problem, not exactly a problem right now. At the moment, this kind of technology is not that widely used in the market. People still uh, people still like code things by hand. So literally you look into the code. But if this becomes a like a very popular way of designing websites and all, the problem is that people will move away from typing codes, and they may not actually even see the view source. I mean, you cannot actually even see the view source on this one unless you probably press some buttons and all. So I mean, it's become difficult to see the code behind this one. So if you don't do a view source or you don't see the actual code behind this thing, you're never sure that you can whether so there is some malicious content in there or not. And this is I mean, this is just one example of how browser-based issues can pop up. There's one other thing. I mean, this is once again, this is not related to your exam or anything like that, but just in case you're interested and all, like I don't know if any of you are doing the KIT 317 or not. I'll just show you some examples of where requests can come in from. So this is something not related to the unit at all. It's a 317, it's Internet of Things and Distributed Systems. So I'm just showing you an example that HTTP request does not always have to come from browsers. It could come. Hey, who is Googling? Anyway, let me just pick something. This is like, I'm going to show you how to control hardware directly. So this is like a remote lab hardware that we have. And there's a microcontroller with some things under there. And you can literally, this is a Wi-Fi module here. And you can literally generate HTTP requests out of these and see the output here. Let me see if I can show you something. I don't remember where I put the last Wi-Fi stuff. Yeah. Hopefully this will work. So you can see like I'm setting that one, and this is going to generate HTTP requests, and let's see if it's successful or not. So it has got an IP address and all those things, and you can see the blue light going on sometimes. So it's getting, wait, it didn't get something. Oh, this is I'm uploading data to somewhere, and I'm getting HTTP 1.1200. Okay. So you can get the idea that this request, there was a HTTP request that I generated. I received 107 bytes. I sent the sender HTTP request and I got a HTTP 200. Okay, so there is no information. This was just uploading data to a website from a device like this. So I can have the sensor information and I can change some of the stuff there. Then I can alter data and all those things. Anyway, this was just a very, don't have to worry about it from the exam perspective, but this is just to give you an outlook that in the future, it's not these kind of web pages that gives you the data. There are other stuff like this, like devices like this are going to generate HTTP requests as well. They also can have the IP addresses and they can make requests and pop things up. So this is also like an important part, because when you are thinking about security, you can make a guess like these are not really very highly secure. Like these kind of devices cannot have the security from their end. They literally have to rely on the server side to like to guarantee that, well, whatever data is going from here is not actually stolen or somewhere, that kind of thing. This also raises the problem of DDoS. You can buy this device for like maybe $3-4 or something like that, and you can literally like flood the internet with these things if you really want to. I mean, each one of them can have a MAC address and IP address and all those things, and you can literally just flood the internet. I mean, I'm not doing that, but theoretically, as you can see, it's in the university and it can detect eduroam and some other e-visitors and all those things. I can like start doing things with eduroam just at a very, very low level. So this is not a browser level. This is really going through at a like a very low AT level. So we can even go lower level to the layer 0 of the ISO OSI model. So if you go at that level, you can imagine what I can do with eduroam, because I can see eduroam. I can see the signal strength. I can see the MAC address of those devices. I can see a lot of more information that how to sort of hack into the system. Anyway, just letting you know that there are a lot of the different possibilities as well. Anyway, I think we have got enough distractive discussions today. None of these last 10 minutes stuff that I discussed is related to exam. That's to be absolutely clear. But I guess you now know that where I have been spending most of my time this semester. It's literally, that's for the other unit that I'm running for the hardware-based stuff. So, yeah. Okay, so any more questions regarding this unit and relevant stuff? It shouldn't be very long, because the thing is, like, that's why I wanted a face-to-face anyway. If it all goes well in the assignment, in the face-to-face one, I don't think there's anything else that I want to come from either. I mean, that was the whole point. Like, you show the code, that this is the code, this is what you added, this part, and all those things. That like 10 minutes, you just keep talking. I take 5 minutes and 5 minutes for each member, and then you just talk about it. Well, this is what you have done. This is how we implement. This is that I got. If everything seems good, then it should be very super fast. Like, I can put the marks. If there is obviously missing parts or something like that, maybe by the end of the week I should be done. I don't intend to leave this for a very long time anyway. Okay, so I guess then we can end the lecture, I guess. Anybody? All right, so bye all. So if next week, I think, yeah, next week Mutas is available for any discussions that you want to talk about. So you can send him an email or talk about any pending issues regarding questions and all those things. Yeah, and I may be available as well. I mean, I'm definitely talking to you next week anyway for the assignments too, so you can ask stuff. Other than that, yep. Good luck with your exams and all.